Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Saturday edition of Today in Sports Betting. Scott, we're going to take a look at three bowl games here today. Normally we have a full slate of action, but that's over. Now it's bowl season, and we've got three games that should vary in degrees of entertainment. Of course, you know, how we think they're going to go is probably the exact opposite of how they go, but yeah, it should be at least one fun game today, so we'll save that one for the last. You excited?
Yeah, I know that so far the bowl games have been pretty predictable up to this point, which we just talked about because the favorite has covered in every single one except the Hawaii game, which we both had.
Pretty chalky, yeah.
Yep. So other than that, though, hopefully you start to see a little bit more parity, but hopefully parity that is favorable towards our pocket. So we'll see what happens.
All righty, let's start off with the and of course, in their infinite wisdom, they've scheduled three bowl games. Two of them start at the same time.
Genius.
Thank you. Well, at least they moved the Liberty Coastal Carolina game out of the noon spot to 7:30, so that's something, I suppose. But the first of the two games starting at 3:30 is going to be the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl, Scott. That's going to feature the Louisiana, don't call us Louisiana Lafayette, Ragin' Cajuns against the University of Texas at San Antonio Road Runners. 13.5 is your spread here in favor of Louisiana, and the total for this one is 56. Scott, if you like offensive showdowns where they throw the ball all over the field and just score points at will, this is not the game for you.
Definitely true. UTSA does have some misleading numbers, which make you believe they might be good offensively. They are not. If you look at their numbers, they're averaging 28.6 points per game. So you think to yourself, you know, maybe this team is not that bad. And then you realize, wait a second, their massive outliers are against North Texas and UTEP. Not really that impressive when you're scoring 23 points against Southern Miss, 27 against Louisiana Tech. This offense is fine. It's just when you actually compare their numbers, 51 against Texas State, for example. But they also have had some performances where they scored 13 against UAB, 24 against SF Austin, 3 against Florida Atlantic. This team has had some performances where I'd say that they've had more bad performances than good performances offensively, but yet the good performances are so out of the ordinary that it just boosts their stats up entirely. So the UTSA team's not very good offensively.
Yeah, and probably their game of the year, Scott, would probably be a loss. The 7-point loss to BYU. That was a late touchdown there to take that down to single digits. But here's the thing. They've got a different quarterback now than they had for that game. They were using Lowell Narcisse against BYU. He had a very good day, went 17 for 22 touchdowns, no picks versus the BYU Cougars. Now they got Frank Harris in there. He's definitely a run-first quarterback that they're going to throw the ball about 20 times a game, and that's it's kind of 3 yards in a cloud of dust with these guys now. So, what does that mean? Is this another one where the favorites just going to monstrously whip on them, Scott? Louisiana 13.5-point favorites.
Well, I think it is worth mentioning though that Louisiana is giving up 180.9 rushing yards per game. So this isn't exactly a very, very stout defense against the run. So I do expect UTSA to have some success with the ground game early on. As the game progresses, maybe not as much. But I do think that they will have some success early on through the ground game. But looking at this matchup here, I got to lean Louisiana. They're just the better overall team. There's a reason why they're 9-1. They were going to get a spot in their conference title game, ended up finally exercising some demons, beating Appalachian in that very, very interesting game, to say the least. But I do think that there is a pretty hefty quarterback advantage there for Louisiana with Levy Lewis, who I think is very solid. You look at the ground game, Louisiana rotates several running backs who I think are very talented. And the defense and special teams are also pretty solid. So I'll lean to Louisiana. The question that, once again, that you have to ask for is motivation. I don't think that plays a factor in this game. I think Louisiana should be motivated. Since they are 9-1, they're on the verge of having one of the best seasons of program history. I think they'll try to culminate it with a pretty solid performance here. So at 13.5, I'll lean to the Ragin' Cajuns. I think they'll probably win this game by about 17.
All right, very good. Yeah, we would be remiss if we did not talk about Sincere McCormick just a little bit. He is second in FBS in rushing yards. He's second in rushing attempts. Pretty good yards per carry average at 6.0. That is 29th in the country. You know, those sheets that coaches have for the game, they look like the Denny's menu that's all laminated. On the sheet for the Roadrunners, it just says "Give the ball to Sincere McCormick." That's pretty much their whole game plan.
Actually, a pretty good game plan now that you think about it.
It's not bad. But here's the deal, Scott. The Raging Cajuns actually are a better rushing team on paper than are the Roadrunners. They are 12th in the nation, average 5.4 yards per carry, while the Roadrunners are 16th, averaging 5.3. So both these teams very efficient when they run. The Cajuns have Mitchell and Regis. Both those guys average 5.6 yards per carry or more. And, of course, talking about my one goal this season, by the way, is to get you to stop saying Levy. Louisiana quarterback Levi Lewis.
It's Levi. Okay, sorry.
he's a fair passer.
It rolls off the tongue when I say it. Sorry.
He's a very, very good runner. He is definitely like the third cog in that wheel there in the backfield.
He's also very good when it comes to limiting mistakes. I know he has 7 interceptions this year, but he's not the kind of guy who's going to force passes that you see all the time in college football, where a quarterback throws across his body to the middle of the field in double coverage. You see that all the time in college. He's not one of those guys. So if you're worried about some mistakes early on, maybe a fumble, maybe, because he does run the ball. But Levi does a pretty good job when it comes to limiting his mistakes through the air. As
the announcers like to say, he plays within himself.
Yes, which I feel like, even though that sounds like an insult, it's kind of a compliment.
Yeah.
Because especially between teams that aren't exactly the most dynamic throwing the ball, I think that Levi offers more upside. But both these teams love to run the ball first. So I think whoever commits less mistakes should have a massive advantage in this game. So I'll lean to Louisiana.
Very good. One final point. They're going to be the Roadrunners are going to be without their head coach, Jeff Traylor, first-year guy. Done a nice job. He's going to be locked down for the second week in a row with COVID. You think that factors in here?
I definitely think that it might have some issues with regard to halftime adjustments. If you have a new voice trying to make some adjustments, stuff like that, and that might play a factor. I think Louisiana is just better. For this one, we also talked about the total. We didn't talk about we talked about the spread, not the total.
Yep.
I'm leaning to the under on that one. I'm assuming you might have a premium on that.
I do. I have a premium on the under. I did a standalone on the side as well. But I will tell you this, Scott. The 4 losses for UTSA have come in games where they've had a hard time stopping the run against teams that are primarily run first teams, and I think that's what you're going to have here with this Raging Cajun team. I'm certainly.
But we both like this Raging Cajuns team, so we have.
I like them a lot. They got one loss this season. They lost to Coastal by 3.
And Coastal's pretty good.
Really wanted to see that rematch, man. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to see that Sun Belt Championship game. I think that would have given a boost to both of these teams as far as their resume goes, obviously, for the postseason. But, of course, it's 2020, and that was not to be. So you're on the under here, and you're on Louisiana as well.
Yeah, I have to like the under in this spot, mostly because I know that when things go badly for some teams and you have to scrap the original playbook and try to only air it out when you're down double digits, I don't think UTSA has that in them.
Yeah.
I think that they basically have to run the ball all the time, whether it's working or not, because that's their identity. And I think even if they decide to air it out late in the fourth because they're down double digits, whatever, I don't expect them to be that effective. So I think that you should see UTSA struggle offensively, probably finish around 17-20, if I had to guess, based on points. And I think that you should see Louisiana score probably around, I'd say 34. I see 34-17, something like that for this game.
Okay, very good. All right, moving on to the second game that starts at the same time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. It's the Lending Tree Bowls from Ladd Peoples Stadium down there in Mobile, Alabama, usually the site of the Senior Bowl. This features the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers and the Georgia State Panthers. Panthers 3.5-point favorite, and this total on this one is 50. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Scott, I know that you're a big proponent of the teams that are rusty, that they haven't played for like a month. But I got to thinking about this, and I actually looked this up. It's been 29 days since Georgia State last played. They played on November the 28th, 2 days after Thanksgiving. But that's a fairly normal time period between their last game and their bowl game. Last year, Their last game was December 1st, and they played a bowl game on the 31st. So they actually went longer last year between their last regular season game and their bowl game. So
how'd they do in the bowl game?
well, they didn't do well, Scott.
I feel like that's part of the equation that you kind of have to throw out there.
No, they did not have a great performance in that bowl game. But I think my point is it's a fairly normal occurrence, not just for these teams in particular. And by the way, Western Kentucky played a week later, so I'm not sure you've got a hell of a difference there between the two. But this one's going to be painful to watch for me, Scott.
Well, it's a good thing they're on at the same time.
Yeah, it really is. I'm sure I'll have them both on. But the Hilltoppers, they've got a dual threat quarterback, Scott, that doesn't do either one of them particularly well. He's not really a great passer, and he's not really a great runner. Averages just 3.5 yards per carry, and on the passing side, averages just 5.5 yards per attempt. That's Tyler Pegram from Maryland. He's a grad transfer. He's accurate. He doesn't take a lot of chances. He doesn't throw in the double coverage. Doesn't take shots down the field. He's thrown 9 touchdown passes, no picks. But if you don't gamble, you ain't gonna win. So, what do you got here?
Well, you're a little bit lower on Pegram than I am. 9 touchdowns and no picks. That's pretty solid considering the fact that Western Kentucky is offensively challenged, but at least they don't turn the ball over. Plus, he's averaging 3.5 yards per carry, but it is worth mentioning that in college football, sacks are included in the rushing department, and he's been sacked 17 times. So that definitely has taken a huge impact on his yards per carry. So I think that number should be closer to 4.5, somewhere around there. So I actually think he's not that bad on the ground. The main thing about Western Kentucky is how much stock do you buy into them in the beginning of the season? Because they were not very good at all. And then it seems like they finally found their stride midway through the season, towards the end of the season, as they ended up winning each of their last 3 games. It is worth mentioning the opponents they faced in those games, not very good. Beat Southern Miss, awful. Beat Florida International, that's a bottom 5 team. And they beat Charlotte by 18 on the road after Charlotte had to deal with massive COVID issues for about a month. So they had those 3 wins. Meanwhile, Georgia State had won each of their last 2 games, covered each of their last 3. Hung tough with Appalachian, ended up beating South Alabama and ended up beating Georgia Southern. I find this game very, very tough to predict because I really just don't like either of these teams. I think Pegram might be better than Quad.
Oh.
I think it's close. I'm really not a Cornelius guy. I'm not a fan of Cornelius Brown, the 4th. I don't like him at all. But Georgia State does run the ball. What?
Did you like the other 3? Okay.
They're older. That helps.
Well, he's a freshman. Of course, we're talking about freshman quarterback Cornelius Brown, the 4th.
So is Grant Wells. I'm not afraid to roast him if I need to.
So is Grayson McCall. So there you go.
So is Graham Mertz. I'm also not afraid to roast him either. So
they call him Quad. This is a very balanced Panthers offense. Got 336 passes, 366 runs. The Hilltoppers have put up some decent defensive numbers, but they have been against really bad competition. The Panthers, well, you know what? They played every game pretty tight except a blowout to Coastal, but they played App State, like I said, within 4. They played Louisiana close within 3. Western Kentucky doesn't do well as a dog here, Scott. I got nothing to like about this team. Nothing.
Well, my main question for you is, I personally lean to Western Kentucky in my article that I wrote for Statsalt.com. Yeah. I also did that about 4 days ago, and the spread was +5. Now it's down to +3.5. Based on everything that we've talked about and how Western Kentucky's only beaten bad teams and everything of that nature, why has the spread dropped 1.5 points?
I don't think Georgia State is getting the
respect that they deserve.
As we've talked about, Scott, the one consistent theme through the bowl games has been the favorite's been undervalued.
That's definitely been true.
And I think that's the case. I think that's the case again here. Western Kentucky, probably a little more well-known to the casual fans. They used to, 3 or 4 years ago, throw the ball around, had a very, very prolific offense.
And then the coach ended up going to Purdue. But
yeah. So it's a whole new world, a whole new program, and this Hilltopper squad has not been nearly as successful.
Yeah, for me, I leaned to Western Kentucky when it was at 5 because I thought the line would drop. I don't exactly think there's much value right now with really either side. I really just it's a flip a coin game for me.
You can take a middle shot and hope for 21-17.
Lean under. I mean, that's my main thought on the game. I know it's at 50, but Georgia State not exactly thrilled to throw the ball under any circumstance, and Western Kentucky, I don't know if they can throw the ball on a regular basis. But I am not a fan of the Georgia State defense, which has struggled, but they have definitely looked better over the last couple of weeks. I'll lean under. I expect this game to be pretty hideous. So I'll lean under as my main thought. As for the side, I guess I'll hold my nose with Western Kentucky, but I'm definitely not going to be playing a side with my own money.
Is there still a value in this number at 50, even though it's come down from 56? You think that's still a playable number?
I think it depends if you think they get to 50 or not. I don't. So as far as I'm concerned,
that sums it up right there, folks.
You can talk about value and say, well, you might have missed something, but at the end of the day, do you feel better taking the over with this spot because you ended up gaining some value of about 3 points or so? No.
You were just waiting for it to hit 50 so you could pounce on the over?
I was going to say, I just don't see Western Kentucky, who's been an under machine all year long based on their offensive production or their lack thereof, and suddenly saying, oh, they broke 50. You know what that means? I got to pounce on this thing. No, I just don't see it. It's just a matter of whether it's 53.5, I like the under. You mentioned the score of 21-17. I think that might be generous. I think this game could easily finish 2014, 2017. So I got to lean under because I don't think Western Kentucky is built to be in a game that breaks the 40s. So I'll go to the under.
All right, and I think Quad vastly outplays Pegram right here.
I think we'll see.
Okay. Well, we definitely will see.
What I'm saying is I think both of them could struggle, and that's a pretty good recipe for the under. That's all I'm saying.
Agreed. All right. So much for the warm-up act, Scott. Now it's the game that everybody actually wants to talk about. It's the FBC Mortgage Cure Bowl coming from the home of FAU there in Orlando, or excuse me, Central Florida in Orlando, Camping World Stadium. The Liberty Flames against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleer. Scott, Liberty is a 7-point dog. 56 is the number in this one. Your thoughts? I'll let you kick it off.
Well, Coastal, of course, has been a very, very disrespected team all season long, not including us, because we were in on the bandwagon very, very early in the year.
We've been on them for a minute.
And they have definitely cashed their fair share of tickets as a result on our behalf. They've been disrespected by everybody, including the committee, as they ended up being stuck to play this bowl game instead of potentially playing in a New Year's Six. But then again, conference title game gets canceled. Not much you can do about it. So even though they've been disrespected, and even though I do love McCall and this entire roster, I'm taking the points with Liberty. Is that a good enough opening for you?
Yeah, it's not bad. It really cuts right to the chase. These are two really good teams. Both of them are top 15 scoring offenses. They're both top 30 in scoring defenses.
These teams are very similar.
Yeah, they're very similar. I love both these quarterbacks, Scott. Liberty quarterback, junior Malik Willis, 20 touchdowns, 4 picks.
He's back from COVID. It is worth mentioning he is officially back for this game.
He is officially back in this one. A true dual threat, 807 yards rushing. And if you watch us at all doing our daily show, you know that we are absolutely have a man crush on freshman quarterback Grayson McCall for the Chanticleers. 23 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions. Kind of underrated as a runner. 473 yards rushing, averages about 5 yards a carry. And like I said, Scott, both these teams are very, very similar. They don't take a lot of deep shots. They take a lot of short to intermediate shots and try to get their guys open in space to do their thing on the yak. So, yeah, buddy, I've got to, Liberty, they've really had, this is, as surprising as the Chanticleer season, who's a bigger surprise here? I'll just ask it that way.
Between these two teams?
Yeah.
It's got to be Coastal. They're undefeated.
Okay, but Liberty's got just one loss. They beat 2 Power 5 schools and really should have won the other one. Had the lead there midway through the fourth quarter And then inexplicably, Malik Willis threw 2 of his 4 interceptions in about a 4-minute span there.
Yeah, for me, I'd say that the bigger surprise is Coastal, because even though Hugh Freeze might be involved in some scandalous activities at Ole Miss, I know that he's a good football coach.
Yeah.
And I'm not fully surprised that Liberty, after showing, I'd say, some signs of life last year, winning a bowl game against Georgia Southern last year, they ended up continuing that momentum into this year. Coastal seemed to just completely come out of nowhere.
Yeah, they were 5-7 last year.
Yeah, people just thought it was going to be either Louisiana or Appalachian, same as usual. Everyone else get out of the way. And Coastal just showed up and said, yeah, excuse me, pardon me, we're going to do our own thing here. So I go Coastal. I had to pick between the two.
Shows what a difference a quarterback makes. Yeah, this was a Liberty squad, like you said, was 8-5 last year. They won their bowl game. But, man, that was a sketchy schedule. They had 5 wins. They had New Mexico. They played New Mexico State twice. So it wasn't even COVID last year.
Yeah, but if we're talking about the schedules here, I mean, you got to read off Liberty's first 6 games. You played at Western Kentucky, Florida International at home, North Alabama at home, Ewell Monroe, Syracuse, and Southern Miss.
That's this year. That's this year you're talking about.
That's this year. And in addition to those games, they played Western Carolina and UMass.
Yeah, I know.
So there's a lot of weak opponents in there. Now, they did beat Virginia Tech, and I will give them props for that. I'm just throwing it out there. Their schedule has been a lot easier, so I'll lean to Coastal being more impressive. But I'm not going to take anything away from Liberty. I think that's just a good team.
I'm not afraid to say it. We missed on that Virginia Tech game. I thought Virginia Tech was going to run wild on them. I thought that was a paper thin resume for Liberty, and I really thought I thought Virginia Tech would cover the 17 there. And
I could have sworn you gave out Liberty plus the points.
I don't think so, man. I really. Unless I came around on it. Yeah, I
remember you giving that out on the show.
Okay. Well,
and I wrote an article about it, and I also took the points with Liberty in that game. So
okay, well, never mind. I'm a genius then.
Yeah, you're a genius. But anyway, just to recap everything, even though Liberty's had an easier schedule, I just think that this is too many points. I just look at Coastal, and I know I'm not going to overreact to the game against Troy, because that was the finale. That was
classic sandwich game.
That was off of the biggest win in program history. You know, I'm not going to overreact to that. Like that's fine. But,
well, yeah, because then they had the conference championship coming up the next week.
Yeah, but
so, it was classic.
At this spot here, I just think that Coastal will probably win, but I think it'll be by 4. I think this game will be 1 possession throughout the entire way. I don't see Coastal blowing it open, assuming that Willis doesn't have any post-COVID effects or anything like that, assuming he's back to normal. I think Freeze will come up with something to keep this defense guessing for the Chanticleers. I think they'll have some success. I'll lean to the over, and I'll also lean to the Flames plus the points.
Very good. I do have a premium on the total, but I'm with you. I think this is going to be a nip and tuck game. It should be fun. I should be back and forth. I'll take the points when you've got 2 teams that are this close together. Give me the points as well.
Yep.
All right, there you go. That's our 3-pack for today. Hope everybody had fun, enjoyed the show. If you did, of course, don't forget to give us the old thumbs up there. Let us know that you're digging what we're doing.
Thank you, Buffalo.
What's that?
Thank you, Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo.
In the under.
Never a doubt. The under was an easy cash there, and the Buffalo side paid off as well. So. Very nicely done. And, of course, if you're looking for more information on these games or any other games this weekend, make sure you stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com, the preeminent site for predictive sports analysis anywhere on the web. For myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at winnersandwhiners.com, appreciate you guys stopping by. Good luck on all of your plays today. Hope everything in your pocket turns into cash money back at the window. Till next time, you guys take care, and we'll see you again on Today in Sports Betting. Bye, everybody.